The Constitution of India, Preamble. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact and
Hi my dear children, welcome back. How are things going on? Hope all are doing good. We haven't met for the last 3 weeks. Now, today I am here again to take class. Hope you all are ready. So, shall we begin our class? Yes. Dedication to your duty, hard work for your duty, and sincerity about your duty. I repeat, dedication to your duty, hard work for your duty, and sincerity about your duty. If these 3 things are together in your mind, surely nothing can prevent you to rise up in the sky. So it's very clear in this quote the importance of dedication and sincerity to work or your performance. So my dear children, do your work or duty through dedication and sincerity. So surely success will be yours. So today I'm going to teach you a poem written by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow was an American poet and educator whose works include Paul Revere's Ride, the Song of Hiawatha, and Evangeline. He was also the first American to translate Dante's The Divine Comedy. His first major poetry collections were Voices of the Night and Ballads and Other Poems. He died in 1882. Longfellow wrote predominantly lyric poems known for their musical quality and often presenting stories of mythology and legend. So the poem, The Village Blacksmith. The poem describes about a village blacksmith and his daily life. The blacksmith serves as a role model who balances his life with the role he plays with his family and community. So the poem is about the hard work and sincerity of a blacksmith. Let's begin. So my dear children, I am going to read the poem. Listen to it carefully. Under a spreading chestnut tree, the village smithy stands. The smith, a mighty man is he, with large and sinewy hands, and the muscles of his brawny arms are strong as iron bands. His hair is crisp and black and long. His face is like the tan. His brow is wet with honest sweat. He earns whatever he can and looks the whole world in the face, for he owes not any man. So in this poem, The Village Blacksmith, we have 8 stanzas. So the poem consists of stanzas, not paragraphs. So in this poem, The Village Blacksmith, we have totally 8 stanzas. So we are moving to the first stanza. Under a spreading chestnut tree, the village smithy stands. So under a spreading chestnut tree, the village smithy stands. Smithy means the workshop of the blacksmith. Who is a blacksmith? Yes, a craftsman who make objects out of iron. Kollan, irumbu panikkaran. Got it? So, what is the workshop of the blacksmith? Yes, under the chestnut tree. The smith, here smith means the blacksmith. The smith, a mighty man is he. Mighty means strong. So, the blacksmith is a strong person. So, the poet is talking about a person. The blacksmith, of course. The smith, a mighty man is he, with large and sinewy hands. What do you mean by sinewy? S-I-N-E-W-Y. Sinoy means a person having a thin body with strong muscles. Okay, so the poet describes about the village blacksmith. He is a strong person, and the muscles of his brawny arms are strong as iron bands. So here the poet uses a simile to compare the hands of the blacksmith to iron bands. Okay, what do you mean by simile? We have already discussed in the previous poems. Yes, simile is used to compare two things using the words as or like. See here in the poem, and the muscles of the brawny arms are strong as iron bands. As. So here the hands of the blacksmith is compared to the iron bands. So the poet is describing about the strength of the village blacksmith. Moving to the second stanza. His hair is crisp and black and long. His face is like the tan. So now about the appearance. Again, his hair is crisp. Whose hair is crisp? Yes, the blacksmith. Crisp means curly. So his hair is curly and long and black. His face is like the tan. What about tan? Tan means the brownish color. So he is working under the sun. Due to the heat of the sun, his face become brownish. His brow is wet with honest sweat. What do you mean brow? B-R-O-W, brow. Brow means forehead. When do we feel sweat? Yes, obviously when we are walking or working under the sun or in the afternoon time, isn't it? Here the village blacksmith forehead is wet with honest sweat. Why the poet used the word here honest? Because the poet is hinting the honesty and satisfaction of the village blacksmith. So the blacksmith is doing the hard work and dedication to his duty. So he is earning whatever he can. And looks the whole world in the face, for he owes not any man. O-W-E-O. What do you mean O? To get money from someone. Kadam vaanguga. But here, he doesn't borrow money from anyone because he is satisfied with his work and whatever he gets from his work. So in this stanza, the poet is describing about the appearance and honesty of the blacksmith. Let's move to the third stanza. Week in, week out, from morn till night, you can hear his bellows blow. You can hear him swing his heavy sledge with measured beat and slow, like a sexton ringing the village bell when the evening sun is low. Week in and week out, from morn till night. So, he is working all the days. From Monday to Saturday, he used to work in his smithy. You can hear his bellows blow. Bellow is a tool used by the blacksmith. You can hear him swing his heavy sledge. Sledge means hammer, heavy hammer with measured beat and slow. So, sledge, bellows, these are the some kinds of tools used by the blacksmith. Like a sexton ringing the village bell when the evening sun is low. So here the poet again uses simile to compare the beating of the hammer to the ringing of the bell in the church. Like a sexton. Who is sexton? Yes, he is the employee of the church who used to ring the bell in the church when the evening sun is low. So here the poet describes about the working hours of the blacksmith. He used to start his work in the morning and he wind up his work by evening. So here the blacksmith is doing hard work. He is using his hammer to make the metal into a shape. Children coming home from school look into an open door. They love to see the flaming forge and hear the bellows roar and catch the burning sparks that fly like chaff from a threshing floor. And the children coming home from school look into the open door. So in this stanza, the poet describes about the school children who love to see the blacksmith work through the open door. They love to see the flaming forge. Forge means a place where the blacksmith makes the very hot fire. So flaming means the sparkling fire. And here the bellows roar. So the children love to see the sparkling fire in the forge and the roaring sound of bellows. And they catch the burning sparks that fly like chaff from a threshing floor. Here again a comparison. The burning sparks from the forge is compared to the chaff. What about chaff? C-H-A-F-F, chaff. Chaff means white coal. Okay. So the sparkling of the flaming forge is compared to the chaff from the threshing floor. Next answer. He goes on Sunday to the church and sits among his boys. He hears the parson pray and preach. He hears his daughter's voice singing in the village choir, and it makes his heart rejoice. So this stanza portrays another phase of the blacksmith. So the poet tells about the blacksmith who goes to church every Sunday with his family. He goes on Sunday to the church and sits among his boys. He hears the parson pray and preach. Who is a parson? P-A-R-S-O-N. Parson means priest. He hears his daughter's voice singing in the village choir. C-H-O-I-R. Choir means a group of singers. So his little girl used to sing in the church, and it makes his heart rejoice. By hearing the song of his little girl, he becomes happy. So this makes his heart rejoice, and it makes him happy and satisfied. Moving to the next stanza. It sounds to him like her mother's voice, singing in paradise. He need must think of her once more, how in the grave she lies, and with his hard, rough hands he wipes a tear out of his eyes. So the poet tells that the blacksmith feels the voice of his daughter like her mother, that is his wife, who has died. She is no more. So it sounds to him like her mother's voice, singing in paradise. Paradise means heaven. He needs must think of her once more, how in the grave she lies. So he is thinking about his wife. So the blacksmith thinks about his wife, and tears started to roll down on his cheek. And with his hard, rough hands, he wipes. So why did the poet mention here rough hands? Yes, by holding the hammer, the heavy sledge, his hands became rough. A tear out of his eyes. So, by thinking of his wife, he started crying. Toiling, rejoicing, sorrowing, onward through life he goes. Each morning sees some task begin, each evening sees it close. Something attempted, something done, has earned a night's repose. So, toiling, rejoicing, sorrowing. Toiling means work hard, hard work. Rejoicing means great joy. Sorrowing. So, our life is a mixture of happiness and sorrow, isn't it? So, likewise, the blacksmith life also mixed with hard work, sorrow, and happiness. Onward through life he goes. Each morning sees some task begin. Each evening sees it close. So every day he works. And every night he takes rest. Something attempted, something done, he earned a night repose. Repose means rest, a peaceful sleep. So here the poet mentioned about the working hours of the blacksmith. So morning till evening he used to do hard work, and at night he takes a good sleep. Thanks to thee, my worthy friend, for the lesson thou hast taught. Thus at the flaming forge of life our fortunes must be wrought. Thus on his sounding anvil shape each burning deed and thought. So in this last stanza, the poet thanks to the blacksmith for the lesson he has taught. Thus at the flaming forge of life our fortunes must be wrought. What do you mean wrought? W-R-O-U-G-H-T, wrought. Wrought means made. So the poet tells us that we should also learn the hard work from the blacksmith. Thus on his sounding anvil shape, each burning deed and thought. What is an anvil? A heavy iron block on which metal is shaped. So the world is just like an anvil. We have to shape our deeds and thoughts to make a better person, to make ourselves a better person day by day. So the theme of the poem is about the hard work of the blacksmith and his individuality, and he is optimistic. The poet shows us the best example of hard work through the blacksmith. So we also have to shape our deeds and thoughts day by day to make ourselves a better person. So my dear children, hope you have understood the poem. So go through the poem, read it once or twice and understand it well. So you have to write the character sketch of the blacksmith. So that's all for today. We will meet in the next class. Until then, it's bye from your Hindu teacher. Thank you.